welcome to the Sleepy Beans Dried Bean Soup Mix Quality Assurance and Quality Control Training video. In this video, we will go through how to quality check each one of our bags of dried bean soup mix to ensure that they are top-notch for our customers. Now, when you get started, the first thing you need to do is make sure you have your pair of gloves and your mat. You'll also need a ruler and a few other tools that are going to be helpful in order to count the beans as well as weigh them and check them for quality control. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you want to do is put on your rubber gloves. We have a variety of sizes available, as well as latex-free gloves for those who may have allergies. Next, you want to ensure that your workspace is clean before you get started. So move your beans and your mat to the side. We'll provide a spray and a rag at each desk. Next, bring your mat over on top of your desk and go ahead and open up the dried bean soup bag. Look at how beautiful these beans are. Once the bag is open, place the beans on the blue mat. Now you're going to want to begin to count each individual bean and separate them into their different types of bean. Now, it might sound like counting beans isn't a good time, but it can be pretty rewarding as well as relaxing. I like to ensure that I have the beans separated by type first, and I try and just go with one type at a time before I move on to the next type. You're going to learn a lot about beans while you work here, especially in QC. You might even decide that you have a favorite kind of bean after working here for a while. Some say fava, some say kidney. It really depends on the soup or chili that you might be making. I think kidney beans are an integral bean for cooking, but I also like a great northern white bean as well. Another thing that you might not know is that beans are an excellent source of fiber, and when you have them dried like this, they are a lot easier to transport and keep for longer than canned beans. So all you have to do is rehydrate them. And on our sleepy beans dried bean soup mix, we actually have a recipe that people can follow in order to make the soup. Now, you don't have to make soup with these beans. You could even, you know, use them for a chili recipe, maybe just eating on their own. But, you know, I've heard of some people that will take these beans and they'll separate them just like we're doing now, and they will turn them into art. Now, I prefer to eat my beans than to make art with them and play with them. You know, many years ago, your parents will say, don't play with your food. But I think that's changed a little bit these days. Now, a lentil is actually really nutritious and packed with a lot of different vitamins. You know, some folks will make just a lentil soup, but I don't think it tastes quite as good as a soup that's been mixed with other types of beans in it. The thing about lentils, though, is that they're quite small, so they can be a little more challenging to pick up. Some beans look a little funky like this, and we're going to get to that in QC. It's actually all right. That's how that bean's supposed to look, so don't worry about it. You'll be provided with a bean identification sheet at your desk, so that will give you a chance to become familiar with each different type of bean, and you know, by the end of your first week, you'll have all these beans memorized. Oh, back to the arts and crafts. You know, I saw years ago a friend of mine, they had you know, kind of a bean mix like this, and they turned it into what looked like a train, but it wasn't just, you know, one car of the train. It was actually you know, a few different types of cars put together, and I think there was even a little caboose on it as well. So there's actually a lot of arts and crafts you could create with these. Now, my favorite bean is probably, I said it's a Great Northern White, but it's probably a black bean because I think it's a really integral bean for making like a quesadilla or a black bean soup as well. Now, the soup recipe that's made from these beans really beats out any black bean soup any day of the week, but that's because we also provide a delicious flavor packet that goes along with these beans. Now, I'm moving at a pace that's appropriate for training today, but you're going to want to be able to sort these beans out in 5 minutes at most. You have a couple of months to work up to that, and you know, don't. Oh, see, there's a rock. So this is why we do this. So sometimes the most important part of QC is that you want to make sure we don't have odd batches with things that aren't beans inside of them. So we're going to set this aside and keep organizing our beans. Now, some beans actually just do look like a rock, I'll be honest with you, like these guys. But you'll want to differentiate the rocks from the actual beans. Okay. Pinto beans are actually a really delicious bean too. Yeah, I don't have a favorite. I think there's just too many delicious beans out there. Now that you have your beans sorted out, you'll want to go ahead and count them to ensure that we are allotting the correct amount of beans inside of each package. So, starting off with my favorite black beans. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 35, 36, 37, 40, 41, 42, 43, 55. We want to have somewhere between 15 and 22 black beans, a mix of red beans and pinto beans, somewhere between 30 and 52. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Yeah, between 25 and 31. Here we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. And over here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 50. And over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Also great. And then when you get to the lentils and smaller beans, you can use a tool like a brush or the ruler to help you count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 60, 61, 62, 67, 68, 79, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 80, 81, 82. Great, somewhere between 75 and 92 of the lentils. Now they're going to comprise, most of the bean soup because they are a little bit smaller. So you'll have the highest count for those. Now, get your beans together in a small pile on the mat. And make sure you still have them somewhat separated and organized here. And now what you'll do is go ahead and weigh them. This isn't very scientific. You just put it in your hand, give it a little squeeze. You say, oh, I bet it's this many ounces. And then you'll want to record that in your notebook. Write down the ounces, how much it weighs, and the density. Next, after you weigh each one of them, again grabbing it in your hand, giving it an estimate, really squeeze the bean. Squeeze it as hard as you can. Now, you shouldn't be able to break the bean, so this bean passes. Great. I think this is a good batch, except for that rock. And record your notes on how hard the beans are. Now, you're going to want to have a pretty consistent durometer of each one of these beans, but make sure you're squeezing them equally hard for each one. Okay, you've got weight, hardness. Now, how long are these beans? You're going to want to get at least 2 or 3 measurements from each bean. And then record those bean lengths. Once you've recorded the bean weight, length, durometer, you're going to want to grab a bean and trace it in your notebook so we have a good record. It doesn't have to be exact. Yeah, you don't have to be Picasso here, but that's close enough. Oh, and then while you have your pen and paper, you're going to want to do an artist's rendering of the most beautiful bean in the bunch that you have. Now, it's a little bit tricky because there's so many beautiful beans in this collection here, but I thought I saw it earlier. Oh, there it is, this one. I'm going to put that in the middle and then just do a quick sketch of it. It's got such a gorgeous, striation of this darker reddish brown line. And then these little patches on the side. Wow, that's beautiful. And it's casting such a lovely shadow. Wonderful. Okay. Now, here's where the quality control and quality assurance process gets a little bit more challenging. You'll be provided with 3 different brushes, and what you want to do is brush a couple of each of the beans to test them to see if they're ticklish. Not ticklish, good. Not ticklish. Not a ticklish bean. Good. And then moving up to the larger brush, use this one now to test if the beans are ticklish. Nope. 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 Good. And now you can test it with the 3rd brush, and then we also have this sort of purple poof ball, which can be used to try and tickle the beans as well. Nothing. Oh. This one. Oh, so this one's a dud. No. 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 Okay, good. Well, it looks like that brush dropped a few bristles while I was trying to tickle these beans. Try and get those bristles out of the way because we don't want to have those on the mat. Good. Okay. We have a kaleidoscope visual test. So how does the bean appear through a kaleidoscope? Let's take a look. And this one looks pretty good. And this one. About a handful of these. Yeah, looks pretty good. And next I have this tube here, and what I'm going to use this for is to place a couple of beans inside the tube. Now, after I have the beans inside the tube, I'm going to roll them around and see if there's any reaction from the beans. Just pick a couple of each kind. Doesn't have to be exact. You can shake it a little bit. So that bean fell out, which means it's been rejected. And that bean as well. Oh. Wow. Okay. The rest of these beans are pretty good. Okay. Still a few more steps in this bean quality control testing. The next one is to grab the magic lamp that will be provided on your desk. And what you want to do is take a couple of beans, and then once you have the beans inside of the lamp, you will want to rub the lamp. And if a genie comes out, then this is a bad batch. Great, no genie. Next, you do want to have your beans tested for reaction to sound. We can't have these beans being startled for any reason. So you're going to be provided one Rainstick at your desk as well, and you're going to use that to tilt it from side to side. This one's being a little interesting. Looks like this bean is a dud. Next up, you are going to be provided this ice cream cone that, I don't know, shoots off a little bit of ice cream and it's attached to the string. Now, you're using this ice cream cone in order to test your beans' reaction time. So have your beans lined up, and then, good. So the beans should move a little bit, but they shouldn't jump clear off the table either. Test each bean. These seem pretty good. Okay. And then back to the visual tests. We'll be providing you a prism lens, and you'll want to use that in order to inspect the beans to make sure they do have a rainbow that comes up upon them. So just take a look through it, and you'll want to see that there is a rainbow on the beans. In this case, these beans are very prismatic. Great. Will these beans pass the test? A couple more steps. Back to the sound tests. You'll also be provided a small tape player at your desk as well. Now, this is only for quality assurance testing. It is not for blaring rock and roll music while you're working. Take the cassette player, and you'll want to put in the provided quality assurance tape. And when you press play, you don't want to see any of the beans having a reaction to the tape played. So, next up, we want to test to see if our beans are vampire beans. And the way that we test to do that is to place the beans on a mirror and see if they see a reflection of themselves. Good. So you can see how the bean is touching the mirror, and there's no gap there, and they're not transparent. So that's a good test to let us know that these are not vampire beans. Next up, we want to show our beans a picture of Saturn and see if there is a reaction. No reaction. Good. Now we want to take these comical chatter teeth and put a bean inside of the mouth of the chatter teeth. If the teeth begin to chatter on their own, then that means it's a bad bean. No. Good. No. also good. No. No, bad bean. Next, you want to grab the 8-ball provided at your desk. This 8-ball is not meant to be used for your own entertainment or being distracted with your fellow co-workers, but it's strictly to be used to be asking the beans if they're good beans or not. So, pick a couple of beans out for this test. These two, this one. Okay. Are these good beans? Ask again later. Okay. When this happens, you may need to go on your scheduled 5-minute break to ask again later. Oh, yes, definitely. These beans are good. Are you sure that these are good beans? I can't see the answer. Oh, yes. Okay, well, there we go. Now, there are only 2 more steps to be completed for your bean quality control testing. And, you know, it's already been pretty rigorous, and that's why we have the most quality beans and dried bean soup recipes. So, grab your beans, get them back in a pile, and you're going to want to use the cards provided at your desk to ask the beans some basic word association questions. So less like a word association, but more visual association. So, for instance, you show them this picture. Now you shouldn't hear the beans say anything. If they say something back to you, then those are in fact bad beans.
It's a telly.
Oh, there you go. Last but not least, you will be given this container of testing substrate, and what you will do is put a few of the beans inside of the substrate and see if there is a chemical reaction. So you definitely want to keep your gloves on for this one. Now, this does need to be kept at room temperature. So if it does feel a little bit cold, you're going to want to warm it up in your hands, just slightly. And it's always going to want to be this kind of amber color, just like that. Good. And then once you have it warmed up a little bit, try and work it into a ball shape in your hands. And then flatten it down into a little amber patty like that. Now, take a couple beans, stick them in. Don't stick them right next to one another though. Just like that. Now that you have your beans in there, fold them into the mix. And then you're gonna want to work these into your hands for about, oh, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes. Now, once they have been worked in for about 5 to 7 minutes, make some room on your provided mat. And flatten out the substrate. Now we can see here that all of our beans are still intact. So these are still good beans and can go right back in the bean soup mix. Now the substrate is still good, you just need to flatten it out, roll it back up, and then do your best to fit it back inside of the container. Oops. Wonderful. Now, be sure to record all of your findings and report them to your supervisor if you have any questions or concerns about the bean. Thanks again for joining the Sleepy Beans Dried Bean Soup Mix Company, and we hope that you take a lot of pride in your quality control bean work here.